Tillerson didn't provide immediate comment to NBC News, and Kelly told the Washington Post, if giving Trump, quote, the best and most open, legal, and ethical staffing advice from across the government so he could make an informed decision is working against Trump, then guilty as charged. President Trump praised Haley in a tweet yesterday, of course, promoting her new book. Jeremy Bash, Nikki Haley is not dumb. In fact, we know her, and she's quite intelligent. But she certainly is playing a game here. She understands.
Staggering.
It is staggering. She understands that at times, and we've heard this from the administration time and time again, people have ignored the president's orders because they were illegal. The president has ordered cabinet members to actually execute orders that are illegal. There are other times that Nikki Haley is right. There were times that Tillerson, Kelly, Mattis pushed back on what Donald Trump was trying to do because people would die, people would get killed. Oh, wait, what example could we bring up? Oh, hey, here's one. Syria. They pushed back on the president pulling out of Syria and turning Syria and the Middle East over to Vladimir Putin and Russia for months. And when he found he could no longer push back anymore, it was, of course, General Mattis who did resign. And so all of these people did quit. They got cleared out. And guess what? People died. Turkey began an ethnic cleansing of the Kurds. So, yeah. Nikki Haley's right. People were pushing back on the president's worst instincts when everybody inside the White House, including Nikki Haley especially knew that Donald J. Trump was not up to being commander-in-chief. And without help, he was going to get a lot of people killed.
Yeah, this, Joe, is revisionist history here because Nikki Haley, when she was serving as UN ambassador, also internally opposed many of the policies the president was advancing. She was there aligned with General Mattis, Secretary Mattis, John Kelly, Rex Tillerson, and others in opposing, for example, the way the president was taking us to the brink of a nuclear conflict with North Korea, amping up the rhetoric and taking us nearly to a situation which John Kelly has told people we nearly got ourselves into a nuclear tit for tat with the North Koreans. So this, I think, is her attempt now to realign herself with perhaps what she perceives as a stronger base within her own party, sort of a finger in the wind strategy, both to sell books, but also to sort of say, hey, Mr. President, I'm with you. And if you should go down, by the way, if you are removed from office or if somehow you don't win again, I want to be the one to pick up the mantle of Trumpism. This is, I think this is a bad look for her because I think it not only is inconsistent with where she's been, but it also puts her on the wrong side of history about some of these big policy decisions.
Another question is, did she raise these matters with the president? If Rex Tillerson or John Kelly were undermining, in her belief, the president of the United States, did she go to Donald Trump? And also, Hans, let me ask you this. Like, this is also a way that we have seen this before. There's been speculation in Washington. I don't think people take it all that seriously, but we've had months now where people ever wonder about the future of Mike Pence on this ticket. And it seems like that happens every time Nikki Haley does something, and she's the rumored candidate. She often has even sort of raised the issue only to knock it down. Where do you see this going?
So when I initially read these comments, I thought, oh, wow, this is big. And yet she didn't talk about the 25th Amendment, right? She didn't. And what she's alleging Kelly to have done, what she's alleging Tillerson to have done, is basically bureaucratic infighting, right? This isn't a major. We don't know that she went to the president and said, by the way, John Kelly is working against you. You should dismiss him. So that'd be good. That'd be a big headline. If she said, by the way, John Kelly and Tillerson went to Mike Pence and talked about the 25th Amendment, wow, we'd be talking about that. In a lot of ways, this is just Nikki Haley positioning herself for 2024. And I'm happy to talk about 2024. Let's skip ahead. Let's not do 2020, right? I mean, let's do 2028, right? Let's think in 4-year cycles, and then Joe can back out the math and show us how smart he is with Fibonacci sequence or something like that. But look, what's interesting about Nikki Haley is that she always finds a way to insert herself into the news cycle, but preserve both sides of it, right? She can still claim to be like, well, I was against the president, but I privately counseled him on whatever subject comes out of fashion in 2024. And yet right now she's sticking close to him. So, yeah, I think the Pence stuff is interesting, but until someone says the 25th Amendment and we have that from inside, not anonymous, then I think a lot of this is just kind of Morning chit chat. But if we're doing morning chit chat,
Yeah,
can we do Jurgen Klopp? I mean, let's go back to that. Yeah. Okay, Joe, Jurgen Klopp versus Nick Saban. You give them a basketball team. Who would you rather have them coach?
Yeah.
I can't answer that question.
Jurgen Klopp, he's more of a cultural anthropologist. Nick Saban's is a details guy. You give them the Turkish national team. Who do you want to coach? Right? Yeah. It's Monday morning. It's Veterans Day. Let's have some fun.
Why don't we ask Lemire that question? Lemire, answer the question. Saban or Klopp with the Turkish basketball team?
The answer is Red Sox manager Alex Cora, Joe.
Okay, very good.
I really don't know what you guys are talking about with your, excuse me, Hans, morning chit-chat.
I will say Klopp is extraordinary, but go ahead.
I'm going to tell you, I don't think that this Nikki Haley news is just morning chit-chat. I think that she's put out a book that she thinks positions herself for vice president because maybe Pence is on the line or something. But if you read it and you look at what she says, she basically talks about Tillerson and Kelly, you could add Maddox to the mix, doing a valiant effort to deal with something nobody has ever seen before that seems insidious and bad for this country, and that people will die. And she says that if you don't like it, quit. Let me check. I think they did. And as you pointed out, people died. And so, we have to, actually elevate what's important about this book. And I actually don't think it's what Nikki Haley or the president, who might be probably working together given the fact that he gave her the stamp of approval on his Twitter, right after the interview aired. I don't think they're getting what they want out of this book because it's actually backing up what exactly has happened, and that there are, patriots who tried their best inside the White House and then had to leave.
Yeah, patriots inside the White House.
If you don't like it, quit. They did.
The patriots inside of the White House that actually were doing the work not of liberals or the deep state, but of Republicans on Capitol Hill, who were talking to them all along about pushing back on the president on Syria, pushing back on the president, turning the Middle East over to Iran, pushing back on the president, turning the Middle East back over to ISIS, pushing back on the president, turning the Middle East over to Vladimir Putin and Assad and Iran's mullahs to let them take over and run roughshod and actually threaten Israel's standing in that region. So if Nikki Haley were doing this to actually burnish her credentials with even the entire Republican Party, that certainly didn't work. But Mika, this wasn't about the whole Republican Party. This wasn't about the Trump press. This wasn't even about book buyers.
No.
For Nikki Haley, this was an audience of one.
Yeah.
She's trying to she's putting herself in position to be Mike Pence's replacement if the president decides he needs to replace Mike Pence. And this was an audition, just like Bob Barr wrote that memo that Donald Trump fell for, hook, line, and sinker, and became Attorney General. That's exactly what this book is all about. And, I do have to follow up with what Hans said and Jonathan Lemire, that she's actually made bureaucratic infighting sound treasonous. This not only happens in the Trump administration, this happened in the Bush administration. It happened in the Clinton administration. This happens in every administration. It's called bureaucratic infighting. And I just wonder, how many times did Nikki Haley go to the President of the United States?
Mm-hmm.
Did she go right after Tillerson and Kelly said something to her? Because if she didn't, and she thought this was disloyal, then she, too, was being disloyal. She heard a conspiracy in her mind against the president. Did she act on it? Now, of course, the president will lie today and say she came to me several times. No, that would have made the news. Jonathan Lemire, I'll ask you.